agenda.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
By Mr. Ballard. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay. It's unanimous. Okay. Floor is open to nominate a chairman.
I make a motion for Mr. John Yeomans to be the chairman.
Okay. Do I have a second? Seconded by Mr. Harris. Any other nomination?
I move we close nominations.
Okay. So,
I'll second that motion.
okay, those in favor signify by raising your right hand. 3-0.
Call the question.
Okay, I need a move for a vice chairman. I'm gonna nominate Bruce Ballard.
This is Derek. Could you have John unmute, please?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Cox. Do I have a move to close nominations?
Second.
Okay, those in favor for Mr. Ballard signify by raising your right hand. It's unanimous. All righty. Okay, first item on the new business. Put my glasses on so I can read this. Consider the application 2203Z High Falls 16 LLC owner and Falcon Design Consultants LLC agent, parcels 218-0210, 218-0211, 218-0211K. Approximately 348.56 acres located in land lots 82 and 83 of the 3rd Land District. Request a rezoning from AR2 to PID/AKB. The applicant proposes to develop a planned industrial district in compliance with the Arthur K. Bolton overlay. Do we have someone here to speak for this, for the applicant tonight? Please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is John Palmer with Falcon Design Consultants. We're the engineer for the project. Did you want me to talk, or?
We're gonna let you talk, and then
Okay.
we're gonna let her talk.
Okay, perfect. So as you see on the screen here, this is it's about 350 acres. It's on Highway 16. That's the top left corner of the site plan, just to orient everyone. The bottom of the site plan, on the bottom of the page, is High Falls Road. We don't plan to have any primary access to High Falls Road. Everything would come off of 16. We will have an emergency exit. We met with staff. So we will end up having an emergency exit for High Falls Road, and there's been discussions of a potential donation for a fire station for the county in that area. But there's an existing curb cut at Highway 16. There's an existing left turn lane there that comes off, and then there's a little cul-de-sac off to the left with some residents, some homes. This is in the Arthur K. Bolton Overlay District. It is slated for industrial warehousing business enterprise in your future land use plan. And we met with your staff early on before we started this process to make sure we were following all the guidelines for Spalding County. And what you have here is about 4 to 4.5 million square feet of industrial space, warehousing space. Because it is a large property, 350 acres, and because of the use, we had to go through a development of regional impact with the Three Rivers Regional Commission. We have successfully gone through that, and they've already made their recommendation of approval for the project site. So we are here before you, the Planning Commission, to answer any questions you may have on the property, and look forward to working with Spalding County.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have a question for him?
Not at this point.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, Ms. Littlefield, would you like to do the staff report?
Staff does recommend approval with conditions. We do recommend that the concept be approved as submitted, that there be primarily the lighting, all of the parking, all of the dumpsters, all of any waste removal or anything of that nature be contained within the site and be oriented towards the interior of the site. We've also put in place a 100-foot buffer against any residential property, and this is to be variegated and also planted in no more than 30% of one species. There's also a walking trail that we've requested of the applicant. This location is pretty significant in its development. It's pretty substantial in its development. And so I'm a big believer in the FP Callaway style of development for industrial properties, that we're here to also build community and to give these people that work at this location an opportunity to not have to leave the site, but to still be able to get some air outside. There is a wetland identified at the top of the site plan towards AKB. Highway 16, you'll notice, and there will be some measures put in place to mitigate that. Yay. And we have sound effects to marginalize that for you. But if you have any questions regarding the staff conditions as written, I would be happy to answer them at this time.
Has the applicant seen the staff
Yes, sir.
report?
Yes, sir, we've actually gone through each one of the conditions together, and they are in agreement with them.
Okay, very
That they
good.
want to promote the health and well-being of their employees. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions if I can get back to the right page. It seemed to me, when I read the staff report, it seemed to me, is there a need to combine these two parcels as well as rezone them?
They would be combined with the development scope.
Okay,
With the
so,
replatting
so
process,
it'll
yes,
come
sir.
out administratively as one parcel, okay.
Yes, sir.
Um,
That actually is part of the DRI process. That doesn't have to be spelled out as
Okay.
part of the zoning conditions.
On the transportation, a couple things. One is, I have trouble seeing from their plat that's up on the board there, how it really interacts with Arthur K. Bolton. I'm not familiar with that, enough with that stretch to know, is there a cross there? Is there a light there?
That actually, and again, the sound effects, Mr. Cox. I would like to reiterate a couple of things that was mentioned by the applicant. First and foremost, this is a DRI project, and because
Yeah.
it's located on Highway 16, they are subject to all GDOT standards.
Yeah.
So they do have to submit a traffic study in conjunction with their DRI.
Okay,
Yes, sir. So those things are actually upheld at a slightly higher level.
and so when the DRI comes in, they will know more, because also, in looking at this, there's a difference, a fairly substantial difference between warehouse and manufacturing trips generated.
Yes, sir.
And then also, if there's a distribution center, it seems to me to be a whole other thing in terms of the timing of trips. So we'll
They-
get a better read on that in the future?
The DRI actually requires them to submit both
Okay,
as part of the DRI process because of how large the project is and
Yeah.
how many different buildings they have.
okay. So we'll know more when they come back.
It's a determination that's made by GDOT, yes, sir.
Okay. And I think that's it. Yes, that's it for me, for the present. I'm sure I'll have something else later.
Yes, sir.
One of the questions I had, I like the 100-foot buffer that's gonna be put in there, a lot that borders the AR property. And I wasn't sure how much of that line was actually open and how much of it was wooded. So where the planting is gonna take place is where there are no trees, is that
Yes,
the
sir.
idea? Okay,
And I've requested as many maples as I can possibly get from the developer to support the honeybee population that may potentially exist in Spalding County.
okay, Frank, you have anything?
Yeah, I was in touch yesterday with Tyler Peak, who is the district engineer for GDOT in Thomaston. And at that particular point, he was unaware of this development. I sent him the information that Community Development had sent to me. I'm not aware at all that the Bolton Parkway was constructed with this type of traffic load out there. And until we hear back something from GDOT, I would be reluctant to move on this on my own.
So typically, typically, whenever you do have a DRI, a Development of Regional Impact, it actually goes to the state GDOT office and is evaluated there. I'm not familiar with the requirement for it to be sent to a district office.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Bruce, you have anything?
Just a couple of things. Again, the applicant was mentioning something about emergency egress onto High Falls. It's not really shown on this detail. Also looks like, I mean, with the parking areas and stuff like that, we're very close. Can't really tell where some of the buffering effects there. But what was, there was also a mention of a potential fire department
Yes, sir. If you'll-
location. So is that down that little peninsula down there?
Yes,
or-
sir.
Okay. And would the egress be associated with that, or,
There are
Do we know?
there's currently two proposals on the table, to run it in conjunction with paving that they already have proposed, and also to run it in conjunction with the fire department.
so in doing that, is there gonna be some type of a road access that goes through there? Because right now, they have the ones, say, going over to Building 2, and then you have all the parking lot that's separated around 4, but, you know, for emergency to go through a parking lot of that size, can be somewhat problematic. So is there some type of a plan for a road connection there that comes on through and ties in?
Kelly,
Or
I can answer that.
do we know?
Sure.
Sure. Thanks for the question. So this is our initial site plan, that went to, Development of Regional Impact, that went to all the different departments. It went to DOT, it went to EPD, it went to Georgia Soil and Water, it went to Griffin, Spalding County, went to all the different entities that are in charge of it. Since then, we've actually created a space between buildings 2 and 4, I believe, the two numbers that are there. Yep, so we actually have a road that will come down through those two. And in a perfect world, yes, the fire station would be off of that little drive.
Yes, sir.
There'd be a Knox box behind that, so a gated, locked entrance
Yes.
that only emergency personnel could use. So it wouldn't be like a back entrance for people to slip in and avoid coming in the main area. And Kelly's correct, so DOT has reviewed it, and they're requiring an ICE analysis for this project, which will likely include also a signal warrant analysis for the existing intersection out there on AKB.
So, yeah, it looks like the drive you have there, what's about 1,000 foot or so from the intersection there with the light now?
Correct.
Right.
It's actually more, it's a little more than that, but yeah.
Okay.
There's an existing curb cut that just goes to a couple homes,
Okay.
there. And the idea is this road would go straight from the intersection straight into this project. And then you would turn right to go to the cul-de-sac to the right. And almost, I mean, this whole, from here Newton, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe AKB or Kelly, I think AKB goes all the way down 16 to the interstate. So the plan, the county's plan was to have everything in this whole corridor as business develop, industrial, commercial, and when they wrote the ordinance. That being said, I mean, this is one of the first ones to kind of come through, I think, since that ordinance was written, so.
Okay, now, so you've got some detention noted there and so forth, but as far as the sewage and stuff, are we moving towards an agreement on that, or?
Yes, sir, there's
Potential?
definitely been discussions, on sewer, both with the county and with the city.
Okay,
There'll need to be some type of a lift station or other style plant as part of this project. And Kelly's correct, so that top gray area, that's a floodplain
all right.
and a creek. And
Okay.
we've, again, preliminary, I mean, we've actually started moving into design now, looking at grading and what it's gonna take to balance the site. So the ponds won't be exactly where they are, detention facilities, but there will be detention for the site. And so it'll all be handled.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. Walter, did you have anything else?
No.
Okay. We have people signed up to
We
speak.
do, yes, sir. We have 4 people signed up. Allison Smiley. If you would please state your name, your address.
Yes, my name is Allison Smiley. My address is 2078 Rehoboth Church Road, Griffin, Georgia. I've lived at that address or right next door to that address for my whole life. Grew up on my parents' 200-acre cattle farm, and which my brother and I have recently inherited. And it's a beautiful area. The agriculture, the AR2 zoning seems to be working really well for the area. We're not anti-growth. We understand that growth is going to come. You all may know about the River Park e-commerce center that's coming at the intersection of I-75 and I-16. It's going to be huge, $1 billion, 5,800 jobs. So 1,000 acres, over 1,000 acres. So growth is coming. It's an important corridor, and they're between 75 and I-16 into Griffin. And I think we can do better than this. And I think all those 5,800 employees are going to need somewhere to live. And I think that keeping the AR2 zoning that we have right now for the area would provide some beautiful growth, some beautiful homes. And if you're with my 18-year-old daughter, would y'all stand up? The 4 of y'all. My daughter here, she's got her friends. This is the next generation, I think. I can't speak for all of them, but my 18-year-old daughter, I think, would love to come back to the area and would love to build a beautiful home out there. And I would just love to see us keep the AR2 zoning and make that beautiful corner of Spalding County. You all may not be familiar with it. We're kind of tucked away. I say it's the best kept secret, but people are finding us, and they're going to build, they're going to grow, but I think we can do better than that in that corridor. We only get one chance to do it, and I think we can do better than this.
Thank you.
Please read them. Alan Dewberry. Please state your name and your address, please.
My name is Alan Dubberly. I'm at 526 Tomochichi, which is right down the street from there. There's also, I assumed that it was at this meeting, they just bought the 85 acres on, right next to my property. I'm against it because, one, I love my house, and this is gonna destroy any property value that I have. I don't know, I'm worried about the property value for myself and my neighbors around me. This is just gonna destroy the property value. Thank you.
Coy Pybus. I'm sure I'm butchering these names. Please forgive me. Please state your name and your address.
Sure. It's Coy Pybus, 2912 Arthur Bolton Parkway. I'm not as much against it as I am, just don't know enough information about it. And I don't, like Mr. Ballard was questioning about it. You say industry zone, but what kind of industry? I know it's distribution, but what kind of distribution? My house, my 10 acre front on Bolton Parkway, down east of their site that they have where they're going to come in on Bolton Parkway. And I just didn't hear enough information from them that I would make a recommendation for it at all. Now, I've been there since '87, bought it in '84, back when it was a 2-lane road, and there's a lot of industry going in, a lot of warehouses going in, but I worked for Clayton County for 32 years in the fire department, and I just don't see enough there. I'm not to give that an okay at all. I know there are others around, probably didn't even know this was happening because there was, one little sign on the spot, the, parcel that I believe they bought, it's on 16, and, or they can probably come in right there at that right of way. I don't know how they're gonna do it. I know it's that cul-de-sac, I know it's that frontage road just west of us on the south side, of 16. So, I couldn't say it, I couldn't give it an okay to go ahead with it until more information was given about it. No,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
The last name, the pin was not working quite well. 297 Wildwood?
Do I have to state my name?
Please state your name and your address.
So I'm Dennis Martinez, and I live on 291 Wildwood Circle. So my concern for this project was how it affect future, building projects. Because, the people who have lived in this area are gonna be concerned about future developments that might happen. And will this cause, future, industrial things to be built within the, rural area? So that's my question. What?
Thank you.
Is that it? Okay.
That was it. That was
Okay.
all the people who had signed up for this meeting.
Did you want to add anything else?
Sure. I just wanted to address, I mean, this is gonna be, and I appreciate the question from Mr. Coy. This is gonna be a Class A industrial, Fortune 500 companies. It's not gonna be metal warehouse buildings or anything like that. So it's gonna be your Home Depots, your Amazon, your large institutional stock exchange kind of investors in these properties coming here. So it'll be Class A industrial with headquarters buildings for offices and that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
And there'll be covenants restricted and all that for the park.
It's not.
If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I've got some more discussion.
Okay.
You said you've run this by GDOT. I'd like to know what GDOT told you about the traffic impact.
So Kelly may have the copy of the reports for the regional commission.
No, I'm
We-
not talking about ARC or Three Rivers. I'm talking about GDOT.
Yes, sir.
The traffic impact out there.
Yeah, so when we submit for the DRI, we don't actually have direct contact with the DOT. That's all handled by your regional commission, which is Three Rivers.
I'm aware of that. Mhm.
So there's your report that came back. So they communicate with EPD and everybody, not just DOT. But we've got a great working relationship with Thomaston DOT. Thomaston is gonna require us to do, like I said, an ICE analysis, a signal warrant study. They're gonna require any improvements that are necessary in that GDOT right away. AKB obviously is a large highway with lots of capacity still. But again, that exact intersection where we're tying into, there will be a ICE analysis done that will determine and will say what type of intersection will end up being there. But we haven't gotten that far. First you get through the zoning, then when you get into your land use, land permitting for the design, that's when we go meet with GDOT. We hand in all of our studies. They mark up our plans and say, put striping here, put signage here, but we're not to that point yet. That comes after we get finished with this process and move to the development process.
Well, you say you have a great relationship with GDOT and Thomaston, the district engineer. didn't know anything at all about this.
Is that Tyler Peak or?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Talked
we
to Tyler,
haven't,
yeah.
and again, we haven't talked with Tyler yet, about this project. And actually, Donald Wilkerson will probably be the first one that we need to discuss it with at DOT. But we're just not at that stage yet. Once you get through the zoning and you get your land disturbance permits is when we get to that stage of meeting with them.
Okay. Well, if you get past this particular board here, it's going to be because it's going to be contingent on what GDOT requires.
And that's, we are aware and are okay with that.
Any other discussion?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval with the staff conditions, 1 through 12 as outlined in the staff report.
Have a motion to approve with the conditions specified by the staff. There's 12 issues there on the conditional approval. Do I have a second? I'll second it. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Those opposed?
I'm abstaining at this
You're
point.
abstaining, all right.
Mr. Harris, you'll need to state your reason for abstention.
My reason for abstaining at this time is that there is a tremendous concern on my part and also on the part of some other engineering personnel that serve the county, that particular road, number one, was never constructed with the idea of this type of traffic on there. And I want to see something positive on the way of the traffic impact out there. And at this point, I don't have enough information to vote against it, so that's why I'm abstaining.
Mr. Galloway, do you mind weighing in? I'm not sure that qualifies for abstention.
Steve, I'm sorry, well, I can tell what the vote was.
If you'll need. Nick, if you'll need.
I'm muted on my phone.
If it'll make it easy, I'll be glad to vote against it.
Yes, sir, I'm not sure that qualifies as a reason for
Okay,
abstention.
I vote no then.
All right.
Vote again, please.
It was 3, 4, and 1 in opposition. Mr. Frank Harris was in opposition.
And who was the abstention?
Mr. Harris indicated that he was abstaining, but the reason for his abstaining was because he did not feel like he had enough information. I'm not sure that qualifies for abstaining from the vote.
The bottom line, the votes to approve or the votes to recommend approval constitute a majority of those present and voting.
That is correct.
Then it goes on to BOC with a recommendation of approval, irrespective of Frank's abstention.
That is correct.
So I could have abstained.
I don't know.
All right. When will this hit the Board of Commissioners?
The 24th of June.
June the 24th, Board of Commissioners will get this recommendation.
Can I say something, John?
Sure.
I do want to remind people that this isn't the final approval of this. This is just a recommendation to rezone the land so they can go ahead and make a proposal to us. So it'll be, it ain't over yet, okay? So we'll get to see more, we'll learn more, and you'll have another chance to look at it, good or bad.
Okay, next item on the agenda,
Sorry, it's the 23rd.
23rd, I'm sorry, June the 23rd.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is to consider the application 2204Z, Bruce Tracy Gann, owner, South Tree Commercial Agent, 7781 Newman Highway, approximately 9.625 acres located in land lot 15 of the First Land District, requesting a modification on a zoning condition imposed in application 1706Z to seek a driveway approval from Georgia Department of Transportation on Highway 16. Do we have an applicant here to speak to that?
Good evening.
Even,
My name's Chuck Ogletree. I'm with South Tree Commercial. We're the general contractor for Southern Lawnscapes. Southern Lawnscapes is an outdoor landscape supply company currently located in Sonoy, and they've started to outgrow their space. So about 5 years ago, they purchased this tract of land, and through their due diligence process, they came across the restriction of outdoor storage. So they wanted to have this property rezoned, as you may recall, from C1 to C1B to allow for the outdoor storage. At the time, the desire was to have an entrance off of Highway 16, and I believe that was one of the conditions that was put on the C1B zoning at the time. So as we started to develop the plans and move forward and work with GDOT, we submitted our plans for an entrance off Highway 16, and they denied it. The main reason was for a line of sight issue. If you're headed eastbound on Highway 16, there's a hill there, and they were concerned about a line of sight with left-hand traffic, turning traffic coming out of Southern Lawnscapes. We proposed to try to move it closer to the traffic circle, but we got too close to the traffic circle, so that was another safety concern of theirs. So working through this, we've come back and we're asking to use Buckeye Road as our only entrance. With this, without that entrance, this has put a undue hardship on the owner. So that we're asking that you lift that condition on C1B to allow us to use Buckeye Road.
Okay. Anybody sign?
No, sir, no one has signed up for discussion.
Well, I travel back and forth that way.
Can we hear staff first?
Yeah, sure.
All right, good evening, gentlemen. So this is a request to have the entrance on Buckeye Road. The current staff conditions are we are recommending conditional approval. There are 13 conditions that are listed there. Specifically, the paving of Buckeye Road and an entrance, a decel and an XL lane for the commercial trucks that are going to be utilized in this business. We also recommended that there is a 15-foot buffer on the rear to protect the lower commercial uses that are on the opposite side of that property line, which face, forgive me, the next road up, which is Tri-County Road.
Tri-County.
Thank you. So, I'm still learning Spalding County. It's my 12th day. But the site does provide a measure of control, and the way that we've requested that they buffer it is to provide those control measures with regard to noise, any dust that may be associated with activities, and also to guide that traffic that they can only come out on Buckhorn Road or Buckeye Road and then hit Highway 16. Any questions at this time? There are 13 conditions listed there. I will not sit here and read all of them.
Yeah.
We're not in church.
Of course, I've always got questions. Can I ask them, John?
Sure. I had a couple of things.
I didn't have a chance to go visit this site because we didn't get the materials much in advance. And so, to me, just looking at the maps and Google Earth, I can't see the topography.
Okay.
But you all are telling me that this is safer than an egress, ingress at the site. Okay, if you're both telling me that, I'll accept it.
So I did go out and actually drive the site.
Okay, good.
And coming up on 16, this does kind of sneak up on you. As someone who possesses a CDL, I would not want to be in the situation of having to brake that hard to get to this location.
Okay.
It does make a lot more sense if you're in a commercial truck, particularly if it's loaded with landscape materials such as masonry materials that may be used in skirting and that sort of thing in a landscape situation. If you've got a flatbed loaded with that,
Yeah.
that's even if it's bolted down properly, having to hit the brakes to go from 45 to down to 30, and then potentially down to 15, that's a dangerous
Yeah.
situation. So if we were to enforce it as a turn onto that road is short enough that if you're in a commercial truck of that nature with a decel lane, you're gonna have enough judgment time to make that turn without speeding up, because you're not gonna speed up to 35 miles an hour, which I believe is the speed limit on Buckeye Road.
No, again, on paper, you just can't see everything.
Yes, sir, I understand.
And so I just wanted to make sure that everybody was on the same page, and this was the best for the county and the contractor, yeah.
Yes, sir, but I did drive that road with the perspective as of a CDL driver in mind, and I want to make sure that the commission is fully aware that those braking limits in a Jeep Cherokee, which is what I happen to drive, are a lot different than they are in a commercial truck. And so I want
Okay.
to reemphasize that whenever they turn off of 16 onto Buckeye Road, their speed, they don't have enough distance to build up speed there. It's gonna be slow. We can enforce a no jake brake policy out there. We have every right to do that. They won't have to use their delimiters though at all on that road, because they won't have enough time to build up speed for that.
And then just a couple small points. One is, I was just curious again, because I couldn't, there's that triangle-shaped parcel that's.
Yes, sir.
There, what's on that land? It looked like possibly a farm or a house or
I believe there's 2 houses.
a residential area, okay.
Yes, sir.
And so this is gonna be sharing their driveway, more or less.
One of them actually exits onto the road behind it.
Oh, okay, the
The
tri-cam?
other house actually does come out on Buckeye Road.
okay.
However, whenever I was watching their traffic as I was coming in and out, they had 2 cars to leave while I was out there, and they both went straight to 16.
Okay, good. That's good. And
Yes,
then
sir,
one-
and so with the proper deceleration, not to cut you off, Mr. Cox, but to
Yeah.
fully explain it, if we put the proper acceleration and deceleration lanes in, as the applicant is willing to do,
It'd be even better.
it'll be even better, and
Yeah.
that'll be even more space out there.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir.
And then finally, this is kind of an observation. The 15-foot buffer, I don't know if 15 foot's enough. I would favor more.
The reason that I would argue for 15 is because they're both commercial uses, but we want to give a delineation because those C1 uses that are on the other side of that property line in the pink space, or the green space, if you can highlight for me.
Yeah,
Eva.
I know what you're looking at.
Those particular uses, those are office institutional uses. They already have a pretty big buffer in the back established, and they don't have any parking in the rear of that building. All of their parking is to the front.
Okay, if you're basing this, I'm just reacting to the fact that we set up a 50-foot buffer on something near me, and I drive by it a lot, and I go, God, that's nothing. I mean, you can see everything. There's no visual, and I'm sure there's no sound blocking, and I go, I'm going 50 foot's not impressive, 15's not gonna make, I don't know how much difference 15 can make.
If you'll note condition 12 as well, in addition to a 15-foot buffer, we've also requested an 8-foot fence to circumvent the back of the property.
Okay, and is that gonna be noise primarily?
It's primarily to protect any visual interest from the
Okay.
materials that are gonna be there. Having worked with many landscape material and supply companies in the past, those bays can get a little messy when it rains, and so I wanna make sure that I'm protecting the property rights of all of our residential property owners too.
Well, I have no particular expertise in buffers. I was just offering my humble opinion that it could be better.
While there is a road that runs, and they do have a right to object to that. However, whenever you have the like-to-like, which is commercial
Yeah,
to
right.
commercial, that's what I'm trying to protect, but also we're instituting a 15-foot buffer, which is greater than the 10-foot required landscape strip, and we're also requesting that they put in opaque fencing.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And that 8 foot is actually higher than their minimum requirement of 6 in the ordinance. They
Okay,
will not be required to have a variance if we make it a condition of zoning.
okay.
Can you hold that picture on the screen there for a second?
The one in the middle of
Yeah.
current zoning? Yes,
One-
sir?
One you're currently, no,
This one?
This
that one.
Okay.
Okay, my point was that this is really needed. I travel this road frequently, and that particular property there, I've wondered how they were gonna use it. The other thing I wonder about it is, it seems very susceptible to flooding. Have y'all had any water issues on that lot?
Not currently, we haven't. I think the lower area, which is in the southeast corner of the property is where everything drains to, but there's not been any.
Other east.
Okay, but just for example, we made this guy jump through the hoops on this rerouting his access to the lot. When you go through that traffic circle headed east, there is a way where you can just, as soon as you clear that traffic circle, you can hang a left into that strip mall there. It's highly dangerous. And I don't know how that was able to slip through, when that was planned or whatever, but, that's just something to think about out there. It can be a dangerous intersection there. Bruce, you got anything?
No, I mean, I think this is a good example of what we were just saying earlier with the Arthur K. Bolton, that when you have the DOT involved and others involved, and you go through the process, then they can certainly put limitations on you and can cause the plans to change, which is what Walter was pointing out and what we were saying. So I think this is definitely a good example of how some changes come about once you can make the zoning recommendation, and then things still get altered as you move forward with your plans. Definitely, this is a popular area these days. This is picking up, so we want to take all precautions that we can to keep that safety along the road. You know, I think with the DOTs, is good, we're good with this scenario, and tying in Buckeye Road and getting it paved in addition is a benefit. So I think it goes to show that you can work through some of the plans and make things better. And I think this seems to be a good scenario to try to do so.
In the proposal of the staff conditions, you'll also notice that there is a required landscape interest in conjunction with their signage and wayfinding. Also, all the lighting has to be pointing to the interior, and all dumpsters have to be enclosed to the interior. I will not have those messing with my residential properties.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend approval with the conditional conditions that's been laid out by staff.
Have a motion to approve with conditions. I have a second.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Harris. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. 4-0.
Where are we putting this? Okay. All right.
All right.
Make sure we get his contact information. so we-
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the Big Peach Car Wash concept plan. Do we have anyone here to speak to that?
Doesn't look like it.
Is the applicant here for the Big Peach?
No, sir.
So I guess we'll move on to the staff report.
We can. So this is a proposal, at 1710 Zebulon Road. We are looking to get approval for the, compliance with zoning standards for a car wash. The primary conditions that I put on this were a GDOT approval of the entrance and egress, and then, the special exception most definitely is not transferable. If this development does not occur, these conditions will cease. And the new applicant will have to come back for conditions of zoning. It's a very well thought out plan, I will say that for the applicant in looking at it. There will be some landscaping issues that we go through with the LDP process. However, with the tightness of this right now, I did not want to go into those with zoning conditions.
What would be the deal breaker for them if they can't get access to 1941 there?
Yes, sir. That's why it's contingent with UDOT. However, they also are required to have interconnectivity with other parcels, so
Yeah,
that if
that's-
someone doesn't wanna get back on, 1941 to make, say, to go down one parcel, but all of those parcels currently are interconnected, those businesses that are there.
Because I know it's in the Tri-County overlay. It was
Yes,
my
sir.
first reaction, and it's going, well, you know, we've gone through a lot on the others in terms of design standards and interconnectivity, and
But there's also a lot already outlined in your Tri-County standards that I've looked up in your previous zoning reports that are already standards in your Tri-County overlay. They're not required to be conditions of a
Yeah,
development of that
right.
nature.
right, yeah, it has higher standards, yeah.
So in looking at previous
And
staff
and
reports,
so
it's kind of
what you're
redundant.
John, you're talking about, they're gonna need access to 1941, they're not gonna front on Zebulon?
Well, I think they're going, it looks like to me they were gonna try
That
to
is on
tap both
Zebulon.
places.
At one time, they were talking about, doesn't like it there.
Yeah, they're just tapping, Zebulon Road.
Yeah.
So would that allow them another parcel over there off of,
Well, if you look
No,
at
it
the
wouldn't.
zoning map, it's like a little wedge.
I know,
That area back there is gonna be where the retention pond is gonna be.
Used to be.
This right here.
Yeah,
right,
They're using that for water runoff,
wow.
which is perfect because it doesn't hit 19 or 41 going south.
Right. Okay.
is there any way, never mind. No, I'll go ahead. Is there any way it could be used is there any way it could be used kind of as enhanced green space for the surrounding businesses or something like that?
That's what it's being used for.
That's what it's currently being used
Okay.
for. And that's not necessarily an inappropriate use, but it's not consistent with the zoning that's currently there.
Yeah, but if it's, if it's retention.
Yeah, the piece of the-
Always the planner, Mr. Cox.
No, no,
The
no.
piece of the
No,
lot
no,
that
no,
fronts
no,
on
no.
Zebulon Road is sort of nasty. I guess they can improve it.
So they're actually tying in with the Waffle House and the liquor stores where it drives right now, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Because
Okay. That can work.
So you can get booze, waffles, and your car wash simultaneously.
Yeah.
Thank you for your observation.
Is this a
Mr.
great
Cox.
country
One
or
parking
what?
area.
I'm down for that.
You might move to the side.
I might move to South Spalding.
Did the sewer capacity issue with the city get resolved with that drainage area?
There's not been a letter to that effect. I have not been notified of it.
Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank, you have any?
I would want to suggest that a CO not be issued for this particular project until the required landscaping had been established.
Yes, sir.
This same applicant came before this board several years back when that liquor store was being constructed. And part of the conditional permit was the fact that the landscaping was going to be established to protect the residential area on the south. To the best of my knowledge, it never happened.
May I make a request, Mr. Chair? Are there any specifics that the board would like to see in that landscape plan, a percentage on trees or a specific species? Just want to make sure I cover all my bases.
Well, the issue we have is we had a moment where we were really trying to push trees and we gave credit if you planted trees. And this one guy in a little small industrial park up the road there, he planted, on a lot that was about twice the size of this room, he planted like 15 oak trees. And it's like horrible, but he got his credit and everything. So I don't like to hang numbers and species on there. I think there should be some aesthetic things to guide, and I'm really anti-Bradford pear.
They're invasive.
I think a good plan doesn't necessarily have to be spelled out by the numbers.
Can I make the request then that we leave it to the discretion of staff with a notification to all parties involved, specifically the planning commission?
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Bruce, you got anything?
What, all right, so if you scroll on up a little bit there, I see like it's got the septic, I'm sorry, the other up. Okay. Separate septic tank, drain field easement and all that, and I see it going all through the property there. So right now, is this particular, the car wash and the other businesses out there are currently on the septic tank system?
So that is correct. That's what Mr. Galloway was stating the question about. We've not been notified that sewer has been approved for this, and based on the regulations, not only in place by Spalding County, but also by the state of Georgia, you can't have a car wash of this
Right.
nature without sewer. So
That's
there
what I
are a
was
couple of
thinking.
stop gaps that the developer has not quite gotten squared away yet.
Okay.
Should we table this?
I would not recommend tabling it. I would recommend adding those conditions that they have to have the sewer approval as well as the GDOT approval.
Okay.
You can make those conditions of zoning, and they will follow the property if they want to engage in this use, but if they are not, those conditions are not transferable.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
Well, I'll make a motion that, it be accepted with the GDOT approval and the sewer approval and the landscaping requirements that we had discussed. And any other conditions that are
That
thereby.
That Frank said, you know, what Frank was talking
Right.
about before the, okay.
I
Okay.
have both of those conditions listed, Mr.
That's
Ballard.
3.
Well,
Okay.
GDOT was in the proposed staff conditions, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Along with the staff conditions.
All right. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Second by Mr. Cox. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. It's unanimous.
Let's make sure we include that. There you go. All right.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the plat approval for Lake Forest. Do we have anyone here to speak for that?
Steve,
Whole teams here.
Steve.
Chairman,
Good evening.
Chairman, Commissioners. Stephen Jones, on behalf of the applicant, accompanied by Mr. Scanlon. My address, for the record, is 1600 Parkwood Circle, Atlanta, Georgia, Suite 200, 30339. Mr. Scanlon's, I should have memorized by now, but I don't.
221 East Bank Street, Griffin, Georgia.
This application's been before you earlier. This is the redesign of a previously approved special exception country club subdivision. Your staff's recommended conditional approval in the staff report. We support all of the recommended staff conditions except for one. We'd ask for a minor modification to it. The condition is condition number 2, and that says that the entrance shall not be in the apex of the curve. This entrance is the location where the entrance and exit was located in the previously approved subdivision. And as you know, GDOT will make a determination based on site distance when we get to the construction plans about where that goes. And we may not be, LNC Partnership may not be the ultimate home builder there. They're considering it, but may not be. And so I worry about, in due diligence and financing the project, the ambiguity there. We don't, so, and also it's a GDOT controlled road. So GDOT will have the final say as to where that entrance goes. So accept all the conditions, would ask you to strike that one, or alternatively say something like entrance to be approved or subject to approval by the Georgia Department of Transportation.
And I could add also to that, if you'd like me to, just to add some engineering insight to that. I wish I had a pointer so I could show you, but GDOT requires distances between existing intersections and proposed intersections If you notice, there's that East McIntosh Road that comes in there. So we are just beyond what is allowed by GDOT there. And let me tell you, this plan's also been surveyed. This isn't just napkin stuff. You know, we surveyed it, so the distances are good. The topo's good. We've got LiDAR topo for it. So knowing that GDOT's going to require about 610 feet of sight distance right or left, and where the East McIntosh Road is. And also, we did consider putting it, I don't know if you can, do you know where the old lake was? Can you see it on the topo? I can see a round circle right there where it says 55 miles an hour, the sign. Yeah, right there. Do you see that cross drain right there, just north? Going underneath the road, you'll see a cross drain. Yep.
On the property line.
Okay.
Yeah,
48 inch.
just north of the 55 speed limit. That's an old lake bed in there. The road is there, but there's a development going across the street. They're struggling with where to put their intersection. I know that they won't put their intersection too much closer to McIntosh Road. So what we've done is really worked within our design trying to deal with GDOT requirements, existing roads, that lake bed, and the driveway across the street. So if we were told don't put that driveway there, we would have to go probably 600 or 700 feet south of where that low point in the road is. There would be nowhere we could put the road because the development across the street will predate us. Because they're already out. I don't know if they've broke dirt, but I know that they've got plans in that are close to being approved. So I'll just give you an idea. I mean, that was a well thought out where we put it, but to protect the county and y'all's interests, it will not be there if GDOT doesn't deem it safe and meeting their standards. So, and one other thing we did for our purposes, we got an ICE report done as to where our intersection is to see if GDOT would be amenable to this. We have not submitted anything to GDOT. I don't want to tell you that, but we have the ICE in hand, and the ICE indicates to us that it'll be fine. That an intersection onto 155 would be fine with the existing traffic counts, the future traffic counts, and other considerations, accident reports and stuff like that. They've got historical data. It all looks good. So,
Okay. Thank you. Ms. Littlefield, do you have anything to add to that?
I've submitted my conditions as written. I still stand by my condition that it should not be located in the apex of the curve, primarily because of the amount of traffic that is on there and the GDOT counts that do come through there. Also the speed limit that's there and the sight distance that's there. I am concerned also about the development that is proposed to go in across the street that is proposed currently to be a gas station, a convenience store with fuel cells. And so I would recommend that the developer take a harder look at the design that they proposed and possibly coincide some kind of traffic study or possibly even a signal analysis to coincide with going into McIntosh Road. But I stand by all of the conditions that I proposed to include the building materials.
Okay.
Does the board have any questions for me at this time?
Any of you guys got a question at this time? Frank, you got a question?
No, I'm good right now.
Well, what's the pleasure? Did I understand correctly that really GDOT is gonna be the one that sets where it's gonna be anyway? Is that,
Yes, sir.
So-
It is the state mandated road.
so if we approve it with the condition that GDOT sets the entrance? You good with that?
I think so.
But if the entrance changes, the plot changes, right?
You sure can.
I mean, you might have different number, you might even have a different number of lots, let alone locations.
Well, that's true.
If they do, they'll come back.
Okay. All righty.
Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve based on the staff recommendations, and that we go with, GDOT as far as, what they come up with as far as the drive. If things change based on their analysis, and they'll make the adjustments and come back.
Sure.
Commissioner Ballard, we just want to be clear as to that condition regarding the entrance. Are you modifying that condition, or are we saying that the entrance is okay as is, subject to GDOT approval? Because you're voting on this plan before you, and I just want to make sure.
Okay, well, I thought with GDOT, if this is what's presented to GDOT, you're going on that recommendation unless they come back and say that, based on their ICE study and information that they don't go along with that, and then it would be a different location.
Okay, thank you so
if
much.
required. Mhm.
Okay. Have a motion with conditions. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Harris.
Mr. Chair, may I ask for a board of clarification?
Yeah.
To make sure I understand the motion and make sure what is required of staff. Should GDOT change the design of the location of the drive and it changes the plat in any way, they are to come back
Back.
before Planning Commission
We gotta bring it back.
for approval? Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. Thank you.
Walter,
No.
did you second or did Frank second?
Frank seconded,
Frank
but I was starting to,
Okay.
so you can have 2 seconds.
right, well, those
Or you
in
could have a
fa-
third if you want.
All right. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. It's unanimous.
Okay. All right. Where we at?
Okay, we're down to the approval of the minutes. So how many corrections do we have this time, Bruce and Walter?
Walter is going to abstain because Walter didn't have a chance to read the minutes. He put his time in on the proposals rather than the minutes. I knew Cousin Bruce would take care of the minutes, and he's better than I am at it anyway.
Not necessarily, sir, but I did go through and peruse the minutes, and I'm good with making a motion to approve.
Okay, have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Harris. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
Can I abstain since I didn't read them? I don't think I should vote on something I haven't read.
You can vote against.
Let your
Mr.
conscience
Cox.
be your guide, Walter.
I want to abstain.
All right,
He's
we have
saying I
one-
can't
one
abstain.
abstention.
I have a constitutional right to abstain.
All right. All right,
It's
very good.
3-0 and 1.
Yeah, I thought I did too.
Very good. Okay, sir. Okay, we've reached the important part of the meeting, our commissioner's minute or other business or whatever. Anybody, any of the commissioners have anything?
I'd like to comment to the public that's here tonight. A lot of you obviously came in for some of the earlier issues, and you didn't just get up and leave when that was addressed, which is kind of nice, because one of the big problems that we have, and I have served on this board and the Board of Zoning Appeals probably since before some of you were born. Yeah, I know the kids. But most of the time, we don't have people come and stay. And we make decisions on this board that are so long-lasting that the community has to live with. One of the things that I would like to ask your commissioners to do, is to put qualified people on these boards. So many times, the people that are appointed not only to, well, several of the county boards, are people who maybe put up 100 signs to help somebody get elected. And then they say, oh yeah, I'd like to serve on something. But if they do that, let them serve on something where they can't do much damage. Because we structure a lot of things that people are going to have to live with in this county for a long time, and candidly, it's good to see people in the audience there other than just the folks that want something. So that's all I have to say tonight.
I have a request / comment. To a variety of circumstances, which I don't fully understand, I didn't receive the materials for this meeting until noon today, and that is not nearly enough time for me to be able to prepare for the meeting. I also didn't even know there was a meeting till noon today. Somehow I didn't receive the notice on Friday without the materials. I'd want to go back to about 8 or 9 months ago. We typically used to get these materials 10 days in advance, the Monday before, prior to the Tuesday meeting. I don't know why that changed. I asked the Bradford, and I couldn't really, I didn't understand and really accept his answer, because I understand that there's a deadline for developers and applicants to submit materials to you. So at that time, you should know whether we have a meeting or not, and you should have the materials. Now, it may take a couple days to get them all together and to get them online. That's understandable, but I think there's plenty of time to get it to us 10 days in advance. I would humbly encourage you to go back to that practice as a favor, understanding that we are volunteers. I may have had other things to do today. When I get stuff on Friday, I'm not particularly happy either, because my wife may have something planned for the weekend, and I don't, so I can't get stuff until Monday at the earliest. Give us more lead time, understanding that we're volunteers, and also, in addition to prep time, there was one of these, and I can't call up the precise name, but the landscaping company, I really would have wanted to go out and look at that, and I normally would have. I don't always do site visits, but about half the meetings I go out and visit one site or another. And even if we get stuff on Friday, that's somewhat problematical. So let's see if we can go back to the old schedule, and I would feel like I can do a better job if I have that kind of consideration and lead time.
Mr. Chair, not that it is an excuse, but 10 days ago was my second day. I was still
Oh,
trying to
no.
figure out where my
Hey.
parking space was. So in lieu of that, we can continue to enforce that schedule of 10 days prior to, of having all the information to you. If anything is submitted to the applicant after that, or submitted by the applicant after that, it will not be in your packet. But I
Right.
will gladly go back to a 10-day schedule. That's perfectly fine with me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's really been on my mind for like 6 months or so.
Okay.
I got mine on Friday. You may want to
Yeah,
check your
I don't
email
know why I
address.
didn't, because I even checked the email address on the Friday mail, and it was the right address.
It was the right address.
And I've gotten everything else you've sent to me, so I don't know what
I
happened.
don't know, to be
I
honest.
checked my junk folders and blah, 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 blah. It just didn't work.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, I'd like to echo, the people who came to speak for the project we're talking about off of AKB. And, that's been an important area of the county for forever. But that whole corridor going out through there has been an issue that we've continually looked at since it went in, and tried to continue to keep things up out there, to adhere to the guidelines and things that are there. We certainly want good development here in the county. We want this, we already have one of the nicer industrial parks in the country that's out there right now. That was, a green development, something that very few other people have had the opportunities to have, and part of the reason that we have a lot of international businesses out there. And we certainly want to continue to push to uphold those standards and make it as good as possible. And I certainly appreciate all of you that spoke out tonight. Certainly understand the different aspects of it, but do be aware we're trying to look out for what's best, and we want it to be a nice development out there and not take away from anybody's property. I would certainly hope that with it you would see property increases versus property decreases
Yeah.
out there in the future. So.
And if I could tag on to Bruce, we also want more housing out there, because given even if this doesn't happen, this particular development they're looking at, that thing up at the junction of 75 and 16, State 16, hopefully there'll be some Spalding County people working at that. Hopefully there'll be some jobs for Spalding County, and those people aren't gonna wanna live over on the Noonan side. They're gonna wanna live somewhere within, you know, a 15-minute commute. And
About the
and
Jackson
to the
side.
best of my knowledge, there's some housing out there, but there's not a lot. And so I would, when we were doing the comprehensive plan, we were looking at the possibility of, you know, commercial development or development like this along that corridor. And somebody said, well, hey, where are those people gonna live? And I said, that's a great question. We need to be mindful of that.
I just wanted to thank our planning commissioners, thank our new community director. Glad to have her on board. Always glad to have Dr. Steve here. Glad for our people that came and participated tonight. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Is that right?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's, Geo Sam's Lab. Oh, you see what they, you know what they did? They cut the whole thing and went into the buffer.
Yeah, but I was hoping with, you know,